Music by bensound.com. Welcome to Knicks Home Court with your host. My name is Greg Armstrong. Phil Jackson may be looking for an extension with the Knicks. The NBA and the NBA Players Association have reached a 7-year agreement. And Kristaps Porzingis, the young lion. All right, those are the things I'm going to get into today, among other things. Let's start with the Knicks news. In the Knicks news, I just saw a report just recently that Phil Jackson intends to stay for the entirety of his contract. And he said it before that the reason why he had to opt out because he wasn't sure if there was going to be a lockout. So that's why he wanted to opt out, because if it was going to be a lockout and there was not going to be any basketball going on, he was like, I don't want to do this. So, agree or disagree, this is what the man said. But now, there's no lockout. He intends on staying, and he wants to see this thing through. And he may want an extension. Now, I will tell you, I don't know if I should mention it now or if I should mention it when I talk about Kristaps. I guess I'll just mention it briefly now. He wants to be here for Kristaps Porzingis. He wants to build around that guy. That's his crown jewel. That's his draft. He didn't draft Michael Jordan. He didn't draft Kobe Bryant. He didn't draft Shaquille O'Neal. He was involved in the drafting of Scottie Pippen, but he drafted Kristaps Porzingis. No doubt. He drafted Hernan Gomez. He was there to acquire Kuzminskis. And he wants to see this through. Trust me, he wants to see this through. For all of those who said he's too old, he's outdated, and then I've heard people say that he's a novice, at being a GM. And, it's amazing when I hear people say stuff like that, because he's a basketball man. He's a basketball genius. I don't agree with all the comments he says outside of what he does. See, what people do is they take his comments and they think that has something to do with him doing his job. His comments are his comments for interviews. I mean, for example, let's look at Kanye West. He says a lot of crazy stuff. But he just put out an album that was hot. You know what I'm saying? Like, he still knows how to do what he needs to do. And always remember one thing about Phil Jackson is he likes to poke the bear. He likes to nudge people. Michael Jordan used to say that one thing he loved about Phil, no matter how great he played, Phil always figured out a way how to motivate him. Not every player responds to Phil Jackson's motivational tactics as well as Michael Jordan. Now, I think that he should have never mentioned LeBron James. Forget about the posse count, man. He should have even talked about LeBron James. That other guy. He's not a Knick, never wanted to be a Knick. There's no reason to even talk about him. He should, and that's why I totally agree with Carmelo, who's been a stand-up guy through this whole thing. And Carmelo was like, yo, that's my boy, but you shouldn't even been talking about him. Why are you even putting him in your mouth? Why are you even talking about him? Why are you even doing it? It's just not even, it shouldn't happen. So, I'm sure Phil learned from that situation. But as far as his basketball acumen and his IQ for the game, and then I hear stuff that he's outdated. Well, let's think of this. Phil Jackson, he's outdated. Let's just take that, because I've heard people say his triangle's outdated and the way he thinks is outdated. He drafted a 7-foot, 3-point shooting, athletic power forward / center. How can he be outdated when he drafted a 7'3" guy that shoots threes? He had the foresight enough to go against the grain and draft a guy that people were scared to take. Then said he didn't want him to be the Sean Bradley. When he mentioned Sean Bradley, again, he was trying to get at Kristaps. See, y'all don't understand. Phil plays a lot of head games. That's why when Phil says things, when I listen to Phil Jackson speak, I only want to hear about facts. But every now and then, when he does give you insight to how he thinks, you realize this guy is smarter than everybody in the room. He doesn't say things. He's a puppet master. He knows if I say this, this is the reaction I'm going to get. He knows that. And that's why he does it. I don't agree with it all the time, but I've heard interviews with people from LA. They say the same thing. They said Phil Jackson always been like that. I remember during the playoff season, he would get on the refs and he would say, he even said stuff about Steve Nash. He carries the ball all the time. And he'll get fined for those. And then guess what? The next game, Steve Nash was getting called for carries. I'm telling you, Phil is a master at this. He's a master manipulator. He knows what he's doing. You don't manage the egos that he's managed and not know how to speak to the press. So at the end, it's always the end result you look at. So now for the people who don't like Phil Jackson, this is what I don't like about the media. I'm not saying that y'all need to apologize. I'm not saying y'all got to have out the pom-poms. All I'm asking for the media is to just be truthful and have some perspective. That's all. Don't do the fans of the Knicks, who you don't have beef with us. Don't give us good information, man. Chris Herring always gave us good information. Yes, I mentioned his name. Ian Begley gives us good information. Why give us bad information? Why twist things? Why are you doing that? I just don't understand why you would do that. So, again, y'all created me. This is why I'm here with this podcast, because I'm like, you know what? I have just as much information as they do. Now, I'm not an insider, but I have information to the stuff that goes on the court. I'm not going to say I know anything behind the scenes. I don't have any sources as far as that, and I won't even pretend to. But I can look on the court like I did if you go back in the podcast, you see I've made certain predictions. I said if Derrick Rose, who's hurt right now, if he can start hitting that mid-range jump shot, he'll become unstoppable because he always creates space. This is what I said before his back went out and before that last game, that's exactly what he was doing. I said Kristaps Porzingis will be an all-star this year. He's going to be an all-star this year. He might even exceed that and be a superstar this year. I said that. At the end of the day, I said this team revolves around Melo. Melo doesn't have to have great games every night. That's what you call having a really good team around you. If you look at Golden State, I always compare to Golden State because they're the best team. Or if you even look at Cleveland, if LeBron has an off night, you got Kyrie. Nobody says, LeBron, it's Kyrie's team, get rid of LeBron. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. Klay Thompson has basically been shooting bad this whole season for Golden State. And they're still winning because they have other players. They have a team. That's why it's called a team. Your team should not fold if one player is not shooting well. I've even seen when Chicago played, I've seen Jordan have bad shooting nights and they still win by 20 because they played D and they had a team. Melo has a team. It's still Melo's team. But Kristaps is on his heels and it's fine. It's not a problem. It's not about passing the torch. It's about having many good players as you can have. You remember when Shaq left LA? Kobe was the alpha, he was the man, and he was scoring and doing everything, and the team sucked. You need a team to win in the NBA. And let's give kudos to Phil Jackson. Hernan Gomez looks like he may not be a superstar, but he looked like he might have 1 or 2 all-star games in his future. Around the basket, he's ridiculous. Kylo Quinn is finally living up to what we thought he could be. Phil Jackson brought him in. Now, everybody want to point to Noah as a bad signing. You know what? I can't say that. It's too early. It's too early to say that. And you got to understand, stay out of these people's pockets. I don't care what Noah gets paid. The Knicks are still a good team right now. Not only that, Noah's a veteran. You need veterans like that. Sometimes you overpay for people. Sometimes that happens. But I'll tell you what. Say we get to the playoffs and we play in a game 7 or a game 6 in a crucial moment and he gets a crucial tip in after a Derrick Rose layup miss or something. You ain't gonna be complaining about that then. So anyway, I just wanted to, man, look. I'll just say, do your own research. That's what I do. And then I just try to bring it to the people. But again, Phil Jackson may extend, which I would be happy about, actually. The fact that he's letting Hornacek do his own thing. He's mixing in triangle, but he's doing a lot of things that's not from Phil Jackson. He's being his own man, and Phil Jackson's allowing him to do this. It's a bright future. Some good things going on with the Knicks. Okay, and that's the Knick news. Well, before I finish that, like I said, Derrick Rose has been having back spasms. He's probably, speaking of Derrick Rose, he's probably not going to play tonight. I would love to see him play tonight, but I think it's best for the Knicks and for Derrick Rose for him not to play tonight and not to play in Denver. If he doesn't play, he'll have like 5 consecutive days off, which is very good. So he can properly heal, because I think that we got Golden State tonight. With Derrick Rose, we can lose by 50. Without him, we can lose by 50. Or we can win. You never know. Because these are NBA teams, and I'll get into that in a minute. Actually, no, I'll get into that right now. The Knicks play Golden State tonight. The Knicks beat the LA Lakers, Sacramento Kings, and they lost to Phoenix. Nobody's really mad about the loss. I really wanted to get the loss. I really wanted to get the victory against Phoenix. Melo was off. He couldn't throw it in the barn. And, he might be tired. I think that sometimes the first quarter of the season, I think a lot of players hit a little bit of a wall. Even the veterans hit a little bit of a wall, and they need a little break. I think Melo needs a game or 2 off. This is why we need a guy like Derrick Rose to be healthy, so we can give Melo the night off. Because he needs a couple of days off. He does. But I'll tell you this. Look for Melo to have a big night tonight. Look for Melo to have a big night tonight. At least I'm hoping that. But he's had 2 consecutive bad nights. And now if he has a bad night tonight, he's not going to play. He might not. Then again, he's probably going to play against Denver. But I know coming soon he's going to take a day off because, people say, they get mad at players for taking a rest. Sometimes people don't realize NBA players play with ailments all the time. And sometimes they just need a day. But anyway, that has been the Knicks news. I want to get into the NBA news. And so the NBA and the NBA Players Association has come to an agreement, a 7-year agreement in the CBA, which is good, which means that we won't have any stoppages for the next 7 years. Now, I don't know all the details. I know that they're going to still keep the one and done for the next 7 years, which I don't really like. I think it should be, there's 2 ways they could do it. I've always said it. They could let them come straight into the league. And if you go to college, you got to stay for 3 years or 2 years. Or just have no restrictions at all. I don't really think you need restrictions at all. Period. So the whole one and done thing is just really basically giving the GMs a chance to see the players more. That's all that is. The NBA doesn't really go to battle for that too much because you got to understand, if you let the players come straight from high school, you got a lot of NBA players that's going to be losing jobs. That's what that's about. So that's why they're not fighting for that like you would think they would. No, it's not about fairness. It's about money on both ends. Now, the rookie scale, As a matter of fact, let me just read this. The value of the veteran minimum, rookie scale, mid-level exception, biannual exception contracts will increase in value. The average NBA salary is now estimated to clock in around $8.5 million. But by 2010, by 2000, I looked at the 10. By 2020, the average NBA salary should be at $10 million. This guy's getting paid. So, this is a good deal. I just want to see continuous basketball. I'm a lover of basketball. I heard that they're also going to take the preseason down. They're going to shorten the preseason, which football players been asking for that for the longest, and football won't give it to them. At least the NBA will have a shorter preseason. They're going to try to spread out the schedule a little bit more because the back-to-back games are leading to a lot of injuries. And it's also probably the way that the game is played now. A lot of older players say, a lot of retired players say, just play, just keep playing and keep playing. But see, the game is different now. There's a lot of running around. It's wide open. There's a lot of running, a lot of chasing, a lot of picks, a lot of stuff like that that's going on. If you look at the old NBA, which I did love, in the 90s, there was a lot of standing around. Basically, you give the ball into the post and you just stand there. You make a cut, then you just try to grab a rebound after the guys take a shot. I mean, that's simplifying it, but that's just how it really was. It wasn't as much running as it is now. The court wasn't utilized as much as it is now. So there's other things going on. You can actually look on Bleacher Report. They have reports on it, and it's everywhere. I won't go into great detail about it because more of the details are coming out. I may talk about it in a later podcast. And one other thing I wanted to get into regarding NBA news, Dirk Nowitzki is contemplating retiring in 2017. He's having injury problems. The team is not good because that has a lot to do with it. And, it's been a long career and he's thinking about calling it quits. And you know what? Dirk has been such a great player. I would hate to see him go, but sometimes I think players retire because they just don't want to do the work anymore. I mean, I've heard NFL players say it, they said playing the games is easy. It's all the work that it takes to get to play the game is the hard part. And, Dirk is probably feeling, it's been good. I won an NBA championship. I'm going to go into the Hall of Fame. You might feel like, it's time. And you know what? I just wanted to mention that. And kudos to Dirk Nowitzki, one of my favorite players. I mean, I swear, every time I'm like, how could you stop this guy? Unstoppable. And I'm looking for Kristaps to learn from him and learn how to use his lower body. I mean, there's not one person I've ever seen like Dirk, how he would get a smaller guy on him and you had to go on his hip. He used to stay putting you on his hip and just shoot it. And even if you had your hands close to that ball, he would hit it right in your face. Nasty on that fadeaway. So, I understand, and I urge fans of the NBA, when we have these great players, try to see them. If you can't see them live, try to watch them when they play because it's nothing like witnessing greatness. Anyway, I'm going to move on to the topic of the week. And this Knicks home court episode 28. I can't believe I didn't even say the episode. But episode 28. I want to talk about today's topic. It's not a question. It's just a statement. It's just a saying. It's just a name. Kristaps Porzingis. The young lion. Yes. Kristaps Porzingis. Call him the unicorn. You can call him Porzingod. You can call him whatever you want. But I want to say, I'm waiting for him to arrive. He's a star. I was waiting for him to arrive as a superstar. And what happens is, when a player goes from a star to a superstar or to like a really great player, is when they realize that they're better than everyone. Some players learn this earlier. Some players just have the belief. But when you start to do it, when you put the belief with the talent and ability, and then you get the results, and you start having that star confidence, that's when you can become a superstar. For example, Carmelo can shoot 1 for 100. He's not going to lose confidence. He's not, because he's already destroyed the league time and time again. So he's not going to lose confidence. And he's not losing confidence based on what he's already done. And Kristaps is starting to get there. If you seen in that game against Phoenix, he hit a couple of threes. Did you see his face? He's trying not to brag. He's trying not to, but he's starting to feel himself, which is great. He's starting to, I think the process to Kristaps becoming an alpha or becoming the man or whatever y'all want to call it has a lot to do. I think it's coming gradually. And it's all about confidence. See, one thing I love about Melo and other great players, they don't shrink when other great players join them. They just keep playing their games. You got to have supreme confidence to play with a great player, because they're going to keep doing their thing. So now, Kristaps, he's arriving, folks. I said that in the second half of the season, I'm expecting him to really take off, but it's happening a little earlier. And to me, it has less to do with what he's actually doing on the court. What's impressive to me is that he had a slump. To get out of the slump, I saw an interview. He said he just needs to slow things down and take his time. He's doing that. He's adjusting. Now he's putting up big numbers again. You see, this is what superstars do. You make adjustments to them, they make adjustments to you. He's starting to do that. See, the only thing separating him from being a star, from a superstar, is his mental, is his mind state. You see what I'm saying? Superstars think on a different level. They operate mentally on a different level than regular players, than regular stars. Stars operate on all right. The difference between a star and a regular NBA player, a lot of times is talent and effort, because you need effort. Talent with no effort is Michael Beasley. You know, you need talent and effort. And usually that's what separates a star from a regular guy. Now, sometimes a guy has less talent and he works himself, works, and becomes a star. For example, David Lee. David Lee worked himself up to become an all-star at one point in his career. But for the most part, it's talent plus hard work, right? Now, what takes that star from being talent and hard work to a superstar? Because now it's not just talent and hard work. Now it's your mental. It's how you deal. It's having mental fatigue, and how do you push through that? How do you deal with games when your body is drained? And how do you rise to the occasion when your body is not feeling it? How do you keep your head in the game when the refs are not calling it for you? You see, that's why when I look at a player like DeMarcus Cousins, I don't see a superstar. I see a star. I see talent, enormous talent. I'm sure he has work ethic. I believe he does. But I don't see the mental makeup it takes to become a superstar. He's not a superstar. He's not there mentally. See, there's a different level that you have to get to mentally It's not just keeping your head in the game and not getting technical fouls and things like that. No. It's even more than that. If you look at the great ones, if you look at the Isaiah Thomases, if you look at the Michael Jordans, if you look at the LeBron James, LeBron James was a superstar, right? Because he has immense talent and immense work ethic. But the last bastion, the last thing he needed to become a all-time great was the mental side of it. A lot of people say he choked against Dallas. I would say he did. See, to me, choking is when you just don't act the same. You start acting different. You start not doing what you normally do. So you got some people who rise to the occasion and play over their head and play better. I've seen that. Then you have some players who remain the same, which is also great because that's all you can expect from them. And then you have some people who choke. I've always believed that Steph Curry in these last two finals have really not. I think he's choked because he hasn't been who he was. He was lesser than what he was. And he was doing boneheaded things. And to me, that lets me know that you're succumbing to the pressure. If you looked at Oklahoma City at the end of one of the games against Golden State, they started turning the ball over like crazy. That's choking. You're doing things that you normally wouldn't do when the pressure's on you. It's choking. And I think that LeBron had to get over that hump. When the expectation was he's supposed to win. Not I'm lucky to be here. The expectation for LeBron was that he's supposed to win. And it was too much for him mentally. Once he got over that hurdle, you saw the fruits of that against Golden State when they was down 3-1. You saw the fruits of him being over that hurdle mentally against Golden State when he really just took over, him and Kyrie. But anyway, back to Kristaps. What I'm saying is I'm starting to see the mental side of Kristaps. He's starting to get comfortable in his own skin. He's starting to develop serious swagger. In other words, confidence. Knicks fans, folks, get ready. Get ready. It's about to be a nice ride. Regardless of what happens this year, it's going to be a nice ride with Kristaps. It's going to be awesome. And I've always told people, when it comes to Phil Jackson, if he did nothing else and the only thing he did was draft Kristaps Porzingis, that would make him a legend still as a GM, especially the way it came about. If the only thing he ever did was draft Kristaps, he didn't need to do anything else. That's always going to be a part of his legacy. That's it. So that's why he's hitching himself to that wagon. He's going to be a part of this right here. He's not leaving because he sees what's coming. Well, anyway, I just wanted to get this out there before the game against Golden State tonight. Analyzing that game, it's going to be a tough game. It's not a good matchup. Well, first of all, Golden State is not a good matchup for just about any team in the NBA. They are really loaded. It's a great team. I think you can bludgeon them inside. If you go inside the paint, if you have inside the paint scorers, you can do a lot. Now, this is the Knicks fan in me. Don't hold it against me, but I'm letting you know this is the Knicks fan in me. This is not the prospective fan, none of that. This is just the Knicks fan in me hoping. Tonight, I hope Melo goes for 40 and Kristaps goes for 40, and the Knicks come out with a win. I don't expect Derrick Rose to play tonight or against Denver, but I'm looking for a big game from those two guys if that's possible. And that's just me as a fan. All right? So this brings us to the end of Knicks Home Court, episode number 28. As I always tell you, you can find this on iTunes on under Life Culture Sports, no spaces. You can go to my website, Life Culture Sports / I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Let me start all over. You can go to my website at lifeculturesports.com / Knicks Home Court. You can go to SoundCloud and find it under Life Culture Sports. It's been real. Try to stay warm, folks. And let's go Knicks. Peace.